Welcome. My name is Ron Papa Schmidt, and I'm the creator of the Net Zero Now YouTube channel. This is going to be video 7. It's going to be the first video in the Future Hope to Act section. It will also be a foundational core video, and I titled this My Climate Family Tree. So let's begin. The motivation behind this video is I'm trying to get you to do something, and I assume you probably want to do something, and so I'm going to try to help you do that. And so I assume by now you've looked at other videos, you sort of recognize that we have a climate crisis on our hands that is going to affect us and our future generations. And but just as a reminder, in case you haven't looked at other videos before you looked at this, these are just some of the things that have happened in 2025. In January, we started out with the Palisades fires in California, and everybody knows what a devastating impact that has had. You know, in July, we had the floods in Texas, which killed about 135 people. There's an organization called worldhunger.org, and they put out a map periodically. This is their map for June to October of 2025. And it talks about hunger hotspots. And so the darker the color, the worse the conditions are. For the really dark colors, that means there's probably widespread famine already occurring there and significant hunger. And for the lighter colors, there's isolated cases of famine and hunger, etc. and stuff like just really dire living conditions. And look at that map and look at how much of Africa and some other spots are really covered by that. And a lot of that is really driven by climate. And then lastly, I just wanted to show you something. Yeah, on May 22nd of 2025, the United States had 724 tornadoes in one day, and they estimate at least 35 people have died. So that's just an example of the kinds of problems we're facing right now. And so I assume you're watching this video because you sort of have some interest, or at least open to the idea of doing something. I got to give you a little warning here, okay? This video is probably not going to be like most of the videos I've created so far, fairly scientific and going blank, 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 blank. This may be a little bit out there at times, and I would just ask you to be, if it seems like it's getting just too far out there halfway through this video, don't turn it off, okay? Just please hear me out. It's not that long. And I think at the end, maybe you'll find it worthwhile. So please bear with me, because this may get a little bit strange at times, okay? And I recognize that, but please give me your patience. Okay, so what do I want to do? I want to help you make creation care. And creation care is a term I'm going to use for this video to talk about the climate crisis, okay? A sustainable part of your life. You're probably like that kid with the question mark there. You're saying, you want to do what? My life's already out of control with the pressures of today's world. I got inflation. I got social media. I got politics. I got AI, etc. I'm already stressed out, overwhelmed with commitments, etc. And to that I say, yeah, I understand. I'm subject to a lot of those same kinds of things. But just take a deep breath. And let me explain what I'm talking about here. Why should creation care be a sustainable part of your life? Well, one is creation care is extremely important to the quality of your future life. I cannot emphasize that enough, okay? So it's probably in your best interest and in the best interest of your kids and your grandkids and the people you love to not ignore this problem any longer, okay? We need to do something about it. And here's why. I mean, the climate scientists are telling us within 10 years, the world will see catastrophic and irreversible damage if we don't do something about getting greenhouse gases under control. And within 25 years, we could be living in a nightmare scenario. That's not me. That's what the climate scientists are telling us. So I assume you probably agree with that and are willing to do something. But let me tell you, here's one of the major problems you're going to have. Is that your evolutionary brain is wired to ignore the problem. Let me explain. As we've evolved, we developed two distinct information processing systems, our sort of rational brain and our emotional brain. And our rational brain quickly wraps its mind around point one and would agree with that statement and say, yeah, we need to do something about it. This is urgent. This is very important. But the problem is our perception of risk is dominated by our emotional brain and what's immediately happening in this second right now. And therefore, since we make all of our decisions based on our emotional brains, it's sort of minute by minute, hour by hour. Before you know it, 10 years have gone by and we've done nothing. We've totally ignored this really critical future risk. Now, if you want to learn more about that, here's just a great book, I think. It's Don't Even Talk About It, Why Our Brains Are Wired to Ignore Climate Change by George Marshall. I highly recommend that book. So let's continue. So your question probably now is, okay, well, how do you propose to overcome the evolutionary brain challenge? Okay, so here's my approach. Now, this is where it gets a little bit out there, so hang with me, okay? Don't turn the video off right away, okay? One, I want you to commit a little bit of time each month to keeping the subject current in your brain. I'm not talking about hours, 3-4 hours a week, or even 3 or 4 hours a month. It's just a few minutes here, a few minutes there, and normally try to make it a part of your normal daily routine or your weekly routine. But one of the things we need to do is just sort of keep it in our brain every once in a while, so it doesn't get so we don't totally get just absorbed in the immediate stuff. So that's one of the things I think you need to do. Second thing is devote a small amount of time each month to building up your rational brain's understanding of creation care or how Earth's climate systems really work. I think that's really important because the more comfortable you become with the subject, the more you understand, the more you'll be willing to just sort of have the self-confidence to sort of bring it up as part of normal daily conversations, okay? Well, how can you go about do that? Well, I have a terrific self-serving idea for you, okay? One is you can look at the foundational videos of this YouTube channel, Net Zero Now, okay? The other thing is subscribe. Every month I'm going to produce 2 or 3 new videos that will just continue to expand your knowledge in this space and a whole variety of different kinds of topics. And just by subscribing, you automatically get those. And just spending a little time looking at those every once in a while will just it will keep it current in your consciousness, is what I'm really trying to say here. And then you can look at other YouTube channels. You can read a book. In addition to George Marshall's book, another really great book I think everybody ought to read is How to Avoid a Climate Disaster by Bill Gates. Okay, so next thing is now to keep your brain engaged, you can try to incorporate it into some normal daily activities. So for example, when you have a major weather event occurs, maybe you could bring the subject up as just a part of your normal conversations with friends and family. For example, we just had, when I'm recording this, is Melissa just happened, a major hurricane, which had significant damage to Jamaica and Cuba, and it come up very quickly. It moved from a 1 to all of a sudden a 5 with the highest winds ever recorded in Jamaica. Bring it up. Say, did you see what happened here? I think that's maybe a part of this. These are happening more frequently. Notice how bad they're getting. This is something we really ought to be concerned about, as a way of just sort of bringing it up in the conversation. Or pick some other topic. You could also mention to your friends that you discovered this absolutely wonderful YouTube channel called Net Zero Now, and suggest maybe they check it out. Or you can just explore some organizations you currently belong to, see if they have a creation care kind of activity in there. And other suggestions for improving your carbon footprint. Just be open to what's going on around you. Now, one thing I'm not doing, and like a lot of YouTube videos that talk about this, I am not asking you to send me money, okay? I'm doing this on my own dime. You can probably tell from the elaborate setup here that we don't have we're not investing a lot of money in this, but we're doing it on our own dime. And I'm really doing this not to make money. I'm doing this because I really care about the future of my kids and grandkids, and I know you do too. And so now we get to the title. I want you to create what I call a climate family tree. Now it's really can start getting weird here, okay? But there's a reason for that. So let's continue. So how do you create a climate family tree? Well, first of all, get a pencil and paper. But the second thing, I want you to now think. I want you to see if you can identify people who will be alive 25 years from now that you care deeply about, people you deeply love, family members, people you spend a significant amount of time and resources trying to help improve the quality of their life, people you would be willing to lend money to if they had a major problem. And then I want you to write their names on a sheet of paper. And most people could easily come up with 5 or 10 names. If you come up with 15, for purposes of this, you probably stop at that level. And I want you to create columns, and a column for their age today, which would be 2025, and then their age at 2035, their age at 2050, and their age at 2075. And for purposes of this, that paper is fine. But I really want you to sort of use this on a long-term basis. So you may want to, if you like this concept, convert it over to an Excel spreadsheet or a table or something in your cell phone or something, and maybe put your reminder in there to look at it every once in a while. Look at it before birthdays or holidays or other kinds of things. Because what I'm trying to do here by creating this is make this personal. When we think about 10 years from now, it just doesn't mean anything to us. But if when you're thinking about that, you're watching video, if you can look at this sheet and say, oh, yeah, my granddaughter here is going to be there. She's going to get married now. Like in my case, one of my granddaughters will be, both of my granddaughters will be 25, 26, 27, that age in 2050. They should be getting, married or starting or having a family or starting their careers, whatever they want to do, okay? And the client scientists are telling they're going to be living in dire living conditions. They don't have no chance to really thrive in that kind of an environment. And so we've got to make this personal for you in order to get away from your emotional brain so you'll take it seriously and do something about it. And then the last step for this is in video 3, Why Now, I put a summary here with the scientific consensus. I want you just to take that scientific consensus and write it at the top or at the bottom of the column for each one of the years. So for 2035, you'd write catastrophic and likely irreversible damage. For 2050, a nightmare scenario. For 2075, excuse me, A world, the world is a planet unrecognizable to humans. Now, if you've already watched video 3, Why Now, then I would, why don't you take that family tree after you put it out, put it in front of you and rewatch the video. If you haven't watched that video yet, which would be my recommendation, then take this family tree, have it out in front of you while you watch the video. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Anything else? Well, we've really covered a lot. So let me do a quick recap of what we've covered so far. Yeah, I think everybody recognizes we need to get the net zero greenhouse gases. I'm trying to help you do something. But even though you want to do something, you're going to find that it's going to be really hard for you to do something or stay focused on this issue because of the way our evolutionary brains work. So what I'm trying to do is come up with ways to keep your brain engaged and to make this a personal subject so you can relate to it better. So you don't automatically just continue to focus on the immediate things and ignore what's really important for the long-term quality of life of you, your kids, and your grandkids. And I want you to create a personal climate family tree. I mean, I don't know if that's really a good idea or not, okay, folks? But that's the best I could come up with. Hopefully you can come up with something better and share it with us. But that was the best idea I could come up with to sort of make this future topic real and current for you. And let me say, we had a church service that had an interesting speaker. And he talked about an author who had written a book called Change or Die. And in it, they followed people who had major heart surgery. And they followed what happened afterwards. And after they had the surgery, they had people who would talk to them about quality of life and the things they do. And they said, here, if you do these things, you should be able to have a high quality life. And this event will almost be like it never happened. But if you don't change the way you're doing certain things, this is going to be a permanent reoccurring problem, and you're going to really significantly impact your life. What percentage of the people do you think took that advice? 10%. 1 in 10. Now, I don't believe at the time they were doing that 1 in 10 wanted to do that. I believe everybody there probably wanted to do that and was fairly committed to making that happen. What happened? Their emotional brain took over. It was always, well, this immediate thing, this today, and they never focused on the rational long-term impacts of what their behavior was doing. And odds are that's going to be you with climate change. Unless you do something different to sort of recognize that you're dealing with an emotional brain and changing your behavior patterns or finding ways to change your habits so you will concentrate also on the long-term future risks, which are just so obvious and self-evident. I mean, so let me wrap this up. It's running once again longer than I wanted to. I swear I'm trying to get that. One of these days I'll get it right. So let me just say some things here. What you can do is vote, subscribe to this channel, and just talk about this subject. And let me just say about talking about it real quickly here. You know that about 80% of the people believe we have a climate crisis. There's a vocal minority who don't. And so everybody's afraid to talk about it. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Bring it up. You'll find a lot of support for that. And make sure you vote. Because our current political establishment is just not dealing with this issue, okay? So thank you again for your time, and hopefully you'll join us for other videos, especially video 3.